Welcome to our regularly scheduled commission meeting, May 10, 2023. The time is now 7:03. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Bass.
Here.
Vice Mayor Irvin.
Here.
Commissioner Kelly.
Present.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Mayor Taylor.
Here. As we stand for our invocation.
Eternal God, our Father, we thank you for all of your many blessings. We thank you for this day. We thank you for this city and community. Continue, God, to give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding for those things which are pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God, indivisible, with liberty.
and justice for all.
All right, so we have one award or one proclamation on tonight that we want to give to someone. Madam. And this is presented to Mr. Aaron Squire. And we'll explain why my colleagues, if you don't mind joining me down on the floor. Okay, so we were actually, this is how I found out about the information. Our city attorney sent me a text about a play that was happening in the city of Miami. And it was about a young man who grew up in Opa-locka, who wanted to tell about his experiences in the city of Opa-locka. So from his lenses of how he grew up here and through his, the drama and all of that other stuff. So today we have homegrown royalty here, a playwright and a producer here that grew up in the city of Opa-locka. He wrote a play called Defacing Michael Jackson that was featured in the Miami Times. It was featured at the, what was the name of the theater? In the Colony Theater in Miami Beach. Again, it talked about him in Opa-locka. And I was just really impressed that he didn't say, I grew up in Miami. He kept stressing, no. Oh, he grew up in Miami. No, I grew up in Opa-locka. Oh, he grew up in Daycon. No, I grew up in Opa-locka. What was it? Oh, I grew up in Opa-locka. So I thought it not robbery that we bring him back home to Opa-locka and let him know that thank you for keeping Opa-locka on the map. And I know you got to fly back to New York. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we just want to say that we are going to now, therefore, I, Mayor John Taylor, along with the citizens of the great city of Opa-locka, my colleagues, City Commission, Vice Mayor Natasha Irvin, Commissioner Shirlene Bass, Commissioner Joseph Kelly, Commissioner Veronica Williams, do hereby proclaim April 2nd, which was the last day that the play aired on the beach, as Aaron Squire Day. So we want to present this to. So when they say what good comes out of Opa-locka, we can say Aaron Squire. A whole lot of good comes out. So thank you, Mr. Squire, for keeping Opa-locka on the map. Thank you, thank you. You say you went Opa-locka Elementary? Oh. Thank you. Commissioner Kelly says a whole lot of good things come out of the city of Opa-locka. And we know that to be true. So we're gonna go to the approval of the consent agenda. So do we have any pulls, deferrals, or deletions from the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Williams?
I want to pull number 1, 2, 5, 7, and 9.
Okay, Commissioner Williams, that was 1, 2, 5, 7, and 9. Anyone else?
I would like to pull 10.
Okay. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
I don't know if it was pulled or not. Was 5 pulled?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, that was one.
Okay.
9 is already pulled.
All right, so just for clarity, I have pull items are items 1, items 2, items 5, items 7, items 9, and items number 10.
Mr. Mayor, item number 1 has been deferred.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner.
I
I'm
have
sorry.
2 provisions to add that the career source agreed to. Since the item had to go to the clerk. And I'm trying to figure out which one that is so that I can ask that one of you. Oh, it's number 2. Okay, it's already pulled. Thank you.
All right. So 2, 5, 7, 9, and 10. All right, Madam Clerk. Can we get a motion to
Move it.
move?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bass. Madam Clerk, roll call. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Clerk, roll call. I do apologize.
That's right. Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes,
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes. All right, we're going to the approval of the minutes from workshop meeting.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead,
I
Commissioner.
moved kind of fast. Was number 11 pulled?
No, sir.
I'd like to, I'm sorry, but I'd like to pull number 11.
Okay, so let's make a motion to reopen the agenda.
I move to reopen.
Okay, so Commissioner Kelly moved to reopen the agenda,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor. Mr. Clerk, a vote to reopen the agenda.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
okay, so the agenda is reopened and Commissioner Kelly, you are.
Just wanted, yes, I wanted to apologize, that I wanted to pull number 11.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, so again, for clarity, we have 2, 5, 7, 9, 10, and 11. All right, so can we have a motion for approval of tonight's agenda? Move it.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Baz. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes,
Mayor Taylor.
Yes,
Consent agenda passes 5-0.
all right. As we move down to the approval of the minutes. Move it. Moved by workshop April 5th, 2023, moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor. Mr. Clerk, roll. Okay, y'all with
No, Mr. Mayor. Did we approve the agenda?
We approved the agenda.
Okay.
We reopened it and we reapproved it. But if you want to do it just in case, we can redo it.
I'm being told by Mr. Clerk that was the consent agenda.
You did I thought you just, we reopened it and we reapproved it, no? Okay, for the sake of the argument. All right, so can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
move it.
Moved by Commissioner
Second.
Kelly, second by Commissioner Bass. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, Madam Clerk, the meeting for, the workshop meeting was already, motion and second, motion by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Bass, I believe. So we're just voting on that now. The approval of the minutes for the workshop, April 5th, 2023.
Okay, so you need a roll call?
Roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Bass.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
all right, so approval of the minutes for the regular commission meeting, April 12th, 2023. Can I get a roll?
Move
motion?
it.
Moved by Commissioner, who said that?
Second.
Vice Mayor moved it, second by Baz. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Bass.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, Madam Clerk, do we have any District 1 or District 2 County Commission reports?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, hearing none, so we're gonna go into our public presentation. Madam Clerk, can you read the rules for our public presentation? I mean, sorry. No, do
Citizens
we have any
forum.
public- do we have any public presentations?
No,
Okay,
Mr.
we're
Mayor,
going
we do
into
not.
Citizens Forum.
Yes.
Can you read the rules for Citizens Forum into the record, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. City of Opa-locka Commission meetings are held in person at the Opa-locka Municipal Complex, City Commission Chambers, 780 Fisherman Street, 3rd floor, Opa-locka, Florida. Members of the public wishing to address the commission may do so in person or virtually. Those persons wishing to participate virtually should register prior to the scheduled meeting time on the city's website at www.opalockafl.gov. When speaking before the commission, please make sure to give your full name and address for the record. There is a 3-minute time limit for public comments. Please adhere to the decorum policy, which is part of the commission meeting agenda. City commission meetings are aired through live stream at www.youtube.com/user/City of Opa-locka. And Mr. Mayor, at this time, we do not have any virtual public comment.
Okay, Citizens Forum is open. Citizens Forum is open.
Good evening, Audrey Dominguez, 1147 Van Avenue. Being that the item for the summer program was pulled, I was going to speak on it, but last year, I was a sitting commissioner at the time, and this meeting was held Wednesday, July 27, 2022. First, it was pulled by the interim city manager July 6th, so that was a part of the delay in this program moving forward. Now, I hope that they were able to come to a consensus between the attorney and the contract, because I know there were issues with the contract, and that's why we didn't approve it at the time. Because it was very clear that the gentleman was not going to agree on what was said in that contract. I just hope that they do come to an agreement at this time. Now, I want to speak on regards to resolution number 5 and number 7, to update the color palette for the painting for residential properties and commercial properties. To me, I think that's a great idea. This is well overdue. The color palettes are very old and outdated, and there's not much to choose from. So I think that we really need to open that up and approve it, because when you go to Home Depot to try to connect the colors, they're like, oh, we don't have that color. So you have to kind of like choose something different. It's not the same. So, and I think that for the commercial is they definitely need a better choice in colors, because this is going to bring out the businesses to get the attention of the customers. I also would like to thank Commissioner Kelly, even though it's going to be an ordinance that we can speak, but because this is going to be a long meeting, I'm gonna thank him now for bringing that resolution and that ordinance to designate 22nd place for Vice Mayor Dorothy Johnson. She definitely deserves it. Now, I have a question. I'm not sure it's gonna be the interim city manager or the chief of police, but I'd like to ask a question. If and when a police officer is relieved of duty without pay, when does it become in effect? Is it done when they turn in their badges, gun, or keys? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I got a call, even though I was in another country, I got a call and was brought to my attention that several police officers that were relieved of duty were being paid through the city when they were relieved of duty without pay. So I don't think that's a great look for the city, especially if we as a taxpayer is coming out of taxpayers' money. And if this is true, someone needs to be held accountable for it. This money should go back and return to the police department to be used by actual police sworn officers that are actually on the force and that are out in the streets that can do overtime. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention. Thank you so much.
Citizens Forum is open. Citizens Forum is closed. Madam Attorney, 13-2.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, directing the city manager to allocate $50,000 for implementation of a summer youth programs, a jobs program with South Florida Workforce Investment Board pursuant to the terms and conditions set forth in Exhibit A, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by Mayor Taylor and it's co-sponsored by Vice Mayor Irvin, Commissioner Bass, Commissioner Kelly, and Commissioner Williams.
Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Williams,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bass. I'll introduce this item. It's simply the summer job program. We're bringing it back. We're bringing it back for approval of the commission. The city attorney worked with Career Source. Thank you, Madam Attorney, to come to an agreement on the contract. And I believe that you said that there were more provisions that you asked for that they agreed to add in, that you wanted to add in on tonight. Are you going to read that in the record or are you going to?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Madam Attorney.
Yes, I am pleased to report that Career Source, through working with their attorneys, they have agreed to all of the changes that we suggested. There were two that we were still waiting to hear back from, and the agenda had to be published. And so once I got the email, I told them that I would read it into the record. And specifically under B 12 and 13, 12 would be to ensure that youth who participate in the program are properly compensated and that it and all businesses comply with all local, state, and federal employment regulations. That would be 12. And then B 13 would be ensure that appropriate federal forms are completed and pay any and all taxes and social security payments that may be due and owing. And so that would be 13. And with that, I would just ask that that amendment be incorporated into what you have in front of you in your packet. And then I'll add these and send it to the manager for execution.
Okay,
And there were a number, just to be clear, there were a number of different things that were changed in the contract. So it is fine to go.
all right.
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Kelly.
No, I pulled it, so I wanted to say why. Thank you for asking, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Weeks. I just wanted to have that conversation, that dialogue, just to make sure that the two contracts in terms of what Miami Gardens is provided, that I would love to say 100%, but I know I see some nuances in the language. Is there anything I know that I saw one thing, 60, then there's another 120. Is there something there that we could,
Mhm.
that could be also amended? Because that's the difference of dollars.
Sure, there is, and this I brought to the attention of the manager as well and invited him to, because it's really a management issue. My issues with respect to legal issues were addressed, but there was an issue, or there is an issue where the Miami Gardens contract is for 3 months and 12 days, and our contract is for 60 days. So that is different. Now, that was a contract from 2 years ago. They didn't have a contract last year, just like we didn't have a contract last year. But when they had a contract in 2021, they did have a contract for 3 months and 12 days, whereas ours is going to be 60 days. So that is a difference. And that's something that really, I did write the clerk, I copied the manager and let him know that I don't know if they reached out or did anything with that, but that is that's a business decision. So that is management. And then there's the reporting period for information, which is theirs is ours is 3 months longer than what their reporting period is. So once the program ends, they're supposed to report on a certain date, but ours is like 3 months later. It's at the end of this year. So those were the only other differences. But again, those are not really, I didn't think they were deal killers, but those are really management negotiated type things, not so much by legal.
Through the mayor, Mr. Manager, if you don't mind, if you can speak on those two.
Through the mayor to Commissioner Williams, this is I've spoken with Assistant City Manager Shameka Lawson, and I will see if there's been any correspondence by Assistant City Manager George Ellis. But tonight, this is management's first time hearing of this issue. We will look through our emails to find where the city attorney copied us on this issue and address it.
And the date of the copy, just so we're clear, is the date of the copy is May the 4th, and it's an email that was sent to the clerk along with the manager and some others.
So, Mr. Manager, so what are we, because that's almost a difference, and I just want to be clear because I don't want it to be said that our contract is exact same as Miami Gardens when there are some differences. And that is truly, if it didn't affect the children, but it affects children, this is the difference between how much they get paid in terms of being short, whereas the Miami Gardens contract allows their students to get paid longer. So is that something, Mr. Manager, that can be like, is there something that you have that you can, because we want to pass it. We hear that that's huge. If we pass that part without it being aligned to what Miami Gardens has, then we're shorting our kids money.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. I am thinking that if that is something that management can negotiate with CareerSource, perhaps we can bring that back as amendment to the agreement where both sides agree to the change.
Okay, Commissioner Williams?
Go ahead.
Okay, hearing everything that's being said, I see the difference between our contract and Miami Gardens contract. We are giving $50,000. Miami Gardens gave $150,000.
Mr. Mayor, that's not accurate.
That's what I'm looking at with this contract that I see Miami Gardens the summer 2020.
That wasn't signed, but the 2021 contract is what I'm
But it was still
referring to.
more than $50,000.
No,
and
it was $60,000, right? I just want to be, there were a number of differences. I didn't go through all of them, but you're looking at the 2020 contract. I'm looking at the most recent one. It's not going to be that amount. And the one that you're talking about, it was an unsigned contract. So I don't know if that one was even ever
So
executed.
you're talking about the one that was done in 21, right?
Yes, sir. That's $60,000. But we've gone beyond that. I think the issues that are kind of before you all, and if I can give just a possible remedy, if you would give us the authority, if you pass this with the changes that I read into the record, and you allow us, if they agree to add that in as a part of your motion, then we won't have to bring it back. If they agree to it, we can just make the change in the agreement. And it would lengthen the time, as Commissioner Williams is saying, and it would also, I think that was your only issue, right?
Yes, that was it.
Right.
Yes.
So that we could
Yes.
do that as a part of the motion. But I just didn't want to go backwards because there were a number of changes that were different between our contract and the Miami Gardens contract. But the only thing right now that is before you is really just if the manager is able to negotiate that additional amount of time so that we have at least 3 months and 12 days or something similar, then we can, if you allow us to allow him to negotiate that, I will add it in.
I'm not opposed to it,
Okay.
but before we go that route, let's hear from Commissioner Kelly, because I'm sorry, Commissioner Williams, are you? Okay,
You go ahead.
Commissioner Kelly,
Thank you. No, Mr. Mayor, I agree with Commissioner Williams. I just wanted to move the amendment that the attorney read into the record so it could be complete. I don't have any other challenges with it.
okay, so the amendment was moved and second. Moved by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Kelly. Madam Clerk, let's vote on the amendment and then we'll call the question.
And can you add to that, Commissioner Kelly, just allowing us the opportunity to add that additional language if the manager is successful in getting the additional time? That way it will take care of this issue as well
Right.
as a part of the amendment.
Yes, that was part of it.
Okay,
and what
perfect.
Commissioner Williams was referencing.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
when it comes all at once.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so Madam Clerk,
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
yes.
Motion on the amendment passes 5-0.
All right, can we call the question now?
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Bass.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, Madam Attorney, 13-5.
Ms. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I apologize. I stepped out briefly at the beginning of the meeting, but I just wanted to make sure, since item 13-3 was passed under the consent agenda, that there is an understanding that there's a substitute item as well as a substitute agreement that was provided to the city commission.
The
13-3.
yes.
I'm not sure if it was, if
No,
anybody mentioned it, during the approval of the consent agenda.
no. Okay. So, Madam Attorney, what would we need to do to open up the agenda?
Clerk is saying all of you have the 13-3,
Yes, we
the
have it.
replacement. So if it was understood by everybody that that's what you were voting on and you understand that, you don't have to open up the agenda.
Okay,
Thank
Alright.
you.
all right, so 13-5.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, directing the interim city manager to update the approved color palette for the painting of residential properties and create a color palette for painting commercial business properties, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by Mayor Taylor.
Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Williams,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor Irvin, and I present it. This is my item, so pretty much what it says is to update. I've been getting a lot of complaints from residents that says that the paint chart is antiquated and old, and they would like to see something a little more vibrant and up to date. And also, when I visited the business communities, they say the same thing, that the paint chart is not really conducive to their business, and they want to see something created essentially just for businesses purposes and not that flip-flops between residents and businesses. So that's what this legislation is. And Commissioner Williams, I believe you pulled it. So you have discussion on this item?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I pulled this one because what concerned me is it was similar to the vice mayor's legislation. And so where I was a little confused by is I do recall that that Vice Mayor Irvin maybe about a month or two ago mentioned that this was something that she wanted to work on in terms of the businesses. I know we're not at 7 yet, but I just wanted to make sure I put that connected because it's connected. I'm seeing two different things. I'm seeing similar things, commercial business in one and then a workshop in the other. To quote Commissioner Bass in terms of putting the cart before the horse, what I would like to see actually is the workshop to know what those businesses and would prefer. I believe that they should also have a say. And so where I know I disagree with this particular legislation is to ask, we're directing the manager to update the color palette. We're not asking the residents. And that's, to me, if we're going to do a workshop for commercial and businesses, that workshop should also include the residents, but not just placed in the manager's lap so that he updates the color palette. But I do believe that the residents themselves should also have a say in that color palette. So I'm confused as to why there are two similar legislations here. But I'll go back. I do recall that Vice Mayor Irvin did mention that this was, I would say, her baby that she wanted to work on, and I would prefer to allow her to work on it. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Mr. Mayor,
Mhm.
I just have one statement to make. It's called future agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else?
Yes, thank you. I think what I'm seeing is 3 resolutions on this agenda that really relate to business. And that's why because I had it come up in several maybe Monday meetings, so I pulled 11. I think we ought to look at all of that cohesively, as my colleague said earlier, and the commission hearing from all of the business community, residents, et cetera, on these kind of issues before we make any changes or ask anyone to update any kind of difference. So I would suggest that we not even go forward with number 5, and we'll wait on the other ones to see how they play in. But I do recall the same thing that Vice Mayor Irvin had mentioned a while back. And so to ask the manager to do all of these, preparing whatever our workshop, because even when I look at some of the others, and we haven't got to them yet, there's still a lot of questions in how we as a city and a commission want to see it come to fruition with the encouragement of our residents and the business community. So I would suggest tabling this item until we get to a complete understanding how we want to approach this whole subject of community business and the things that impact our residents. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No problem, Commissioner Kelly. Anyone else? Because I have something.
Go ahead.
Okay, number 1, I don't remember when you said that, and I apologize. This is not a competition for me to get one up on you, so I don't know where that's coming from. I had a conversation with a resident who sat in here and talked about, who brought up the issue with the color palette, which is why I brought it. And also, I also asked the attorney to reach out to see if when I saw that you brought up on the workshop, could we merge both resolutions together? So I'm not in the business of creating discord amongst us. So, and when I saw it, I said, Madam Attorney, is it okay? Can you reach out to see if Vice Mayor is okay that we merge both resolutions together. I wasn't trying to overstep you. I wasn't trying to do this ahead of you. So please don't take that to mean that, because that's not what this was about. And I do apologize, because I don't want my good to be evil spoken of. But so if it is the will of the board, and if you would like me to, I will pull it and take a back seat to it, and you can have it. I don't mind, because again, my
can
job
all
is to
work
better the
on it.
residents, work together. That's why I said, could we combine them? But I take my name off and you can be the principal sponsor. But that was not, I didn't do that for that. It wasn't, and I don't even remember that statement being said, and I apologize. Things happen in meetings that I don't always hear. So again, I apologize. I'm man enough to say I apologize.
It's okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly.
I appreciate the love y'all got. That's good. But my concern was the fact that even the legislation, and really on all of them, where we're directing the manager to do something before we kind of know what businesses and or residents want to see. So that's where I'm at on all of them, really, to have that workshop discussion before we give direction on updating anything. That's why I said I couldn't support anyway. So,
Okay,
but that'll come up in, I guess, the next discussion.
Mr. Mayor.
go ahead, Commissioner Williams.
So just to go back, I just, no discourse, no anything. I want to make sure that Commissioner Irvin, I know, like I said, I recall that was her thing, and I want to make sure that I'm definitely in line and in tandem of combining. I have no issues. I can definitely combine a workshop specifically if it's for businesses, when we talk about signage, so I'm definitely willing to combine that with you, Commissioner Irvin, when you with your legislation for signage. And more than willing to work together on that. But I want to be clear, just to make sure that you know that I heard you. You're
Okay,
welcome.
thank you.
So, Commissioner Kelly, if me and Vice Mayor Irvin were to combine, would that suffice for you? If not, then I'll pull it. And we do and she can take the lead because she was heard.
Well, I think all of them, as Commissioner Williams mentioned, all of them kind of tying together with
They do.
signage, with the colors, and even with the residential. You might want to do that separate meeting, but they all combine. I just want to make sure that we have that, reach out to all of them before we make any kind of decisions on whatever we're going to update or do. That's why I couldn't just support 5, because it says to actually update it, as opposed to just having the workshop and then coming back with whatever we hear from our community, and then make the update. So I support the workshops, hearing from the business community on signage, on 7 and 11, because that's why I pulled it. I think that's tandem. And then one on the as yours is there, yours just says update. That's why I think the wording is challenging. You got to take the word update out, because that asks the manager to go ahead and do whatever. We don't want to do anything yet until we hear from the community and the business community.
Okay. So, Madam Attorney, here's where I'm at. I'll take a back seat to it. We can pull it. And then let's come, if Vice Mayor doesn't mind, once we get there, combine this with, I'll do a friendly amendment to combine this with item number 7, and she can be the lead on that. So it'll be to do a workshop and then to update the palette once we get there. So I'll pull my item, or pull it. And then we'll move on to number 7. Then once we get there, I'll do a friendly amendment to add that part of that language into her legislation. If that's okay with you.
It's okay,
Okay.
along with 11?
Yeah, I was
along-
gonna say, so I'll definitely pull 11 and
And we
then
do, merge
it'll-
all of them.
well, that'll be different. So this is just a workshop. So the workshop will be in tandem with the workshop for the palette. If you, yeah, okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so Madam Attorney, I'm pulling my item number 5. So if you don't mind, we're gonna move on to 13-7.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, directing the interim city manager to prepare and conduct a workshop within 60 days for the business community regarding the color palette, providing for a repealer, severability, and effective date, sponsored by Vice Mayor Irvin.
All right, can I get a motion? Moved by Commissioner Bass,
Second for discussion.
second by Commissioner Kelly, Vice Mayor.
I'm quite sure my colleagues, you ought to make your amendments. I just would hope you all consider,
Present the item. You gotta present the item.
you didn't say presented. You
I said Vice Mayor.
Oh, I'm
He
sorry.
did.
Go right ahead, Vice Mayor.
Yes, I thought that this was necessary after talking with a couple of business owners. And they want their businesses to pop, as they said, not to look like houses. And that's upon me speaking with the city manager about it, we decided that a workshop would be a great thing to do so that the business owners can come out and help us create this palette that would be feasible for businesses in our community.
Okay, and Commissioner Kelly, you finished, Vice Mayor? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm finished. I'm
Commissioner Kelly?
sorry.
Thank you for both of them, and I want to hear from Commissioner Williams because she's going to combine. I would just say whatever the amendment, I definitely would support it. The only thing I would hope, instead of 60 days, that we could do that workshop within 30 days or
Yeah.
by 30 days. For the simple fact, we've got a lot of businesses that are in the midst of trying to either do upgrades, et cetera, so forth, because you're coming towards the end and the beginning of a new year for many of them that may get funding from various places. So if we're going to do something that changes the whatever signage, coloring, that we can do it as expeditiously as possible. And also that we make sure that we reach the businesses, not an email, not a text, but really reach the businesses so that they can come out, and not only business, but even for the residential and the colors, but that we reach them so they can be here en masse and have a good discussion so we can pass something that works for our city as a whole. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Miss-
Oh,
Mr.
sorry.
Mayor, I'm
Vice Mayor.
sorry. I was gonna say, because I want all of the businesses to be notified, if 60 days is too much, we can do 45.
I agree.
If that, we could do 45, but 30 may not be quite enough. So we got to get mailers or figure out how we're going to get
I'm
everybody.
sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Kelly.
We pay a PR firm
Mm,
$100,000. They can reach, we only 4.2 square miles. They
Okay,
can't reach, I mean, it's up to the board. If you want to go to 40, it's your legislation, I'm sorry. So if you want to do 45, I'll go along with it, but that's why we pay them. And we're not that big. But I'll support 45 days if that's your legislation along with Commissioner Williams. I know she's got the signage part, so I'll defer to whatever number you all agree on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, if you don't mind,
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly.
Commissioner Kelly said we have a PR firm, so 30 days, if we want to go 30 days, I'm okay with it.
So since we gonna combine our legislation, if you don't mind. But let me,
Commissioner Wood,
give me 1 second. I'm gonna do
okay.
my amendment first, because I pulled mine to combine it with yours.
Okay,
Madam Attorney, on this one, for this legislation, can you do a workshop within whatever number we agree to for the business community and the residential regarding,
Is that the amendment
that's
to,
my amendment. So,
are you making a motion?
yes, ma'am.
Okay,
So, and the residential, regarding the color palette, and then once the residents come up to a consensus, then directing the city manager to bring that back to the commission for final adoption and approval. Okay, and I pulled mine, so if you don't mind, I would like to co-sponsor with you on this one. All right, so 7 and if you don't mind, thank you. All right, anyone else? Okay, so that's my motion. Can I get a second on the motion?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor. Madam Clerk. Madam Attorney, can you, oh, so I'm sorry. Before we do that motion, we need to talk about the timeline. That way we can do it all at one motion. You talked about 60 days. I'm kind of in agreement with Commissioner Kelly. Let's do it even numbers of maybe 45 days. Oh, you said 45 days.
I say 45.
I would say,
Mr. Kelly.
you said 30. So I say let's go in the middle, even like a 45. If you, if that is okay with everybody. That's in between Commissioner Kelly's 30 and your 60.
Okay.
Okay.
45 is good.
45 is good. All right, so Madam Attorney, if you don't mind, can you read it in the record for its entirety? So we can get a good understanding of what we're doing.
Well, I'm looking at your title in doing this, and so the intent would be to conduct direct this interim city manager to prepare and conduct a workshop within 45 days for the business community and the residential and business regarding the color palette.
Right.
Okay, and so everything would be consistent with that in the resolution.
Okay, so that was moved by myself and second by Vice Mayor. Madam Clerk, can we roll call?
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Baz,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 on the amendment.
All right, so there are no more discussion on this item. We can call the question. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Baz.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right. Madam Attorney, 13-9.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, to implement a 3% compensation increase to city employees who have not received an increase within a period of 12 months, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by Commissioner Kelly.
Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to begin by apologizing because in the initial workup of the legislation, I had asked for two different scenarios that would be presented to my colleagues. One was for 3% and one was for 2%. So that we'll have the option, because I did not know what the numbers was going to mean or how they were going to add up. So the one that was actually presented was the 3%. And when I inquired in my briefing and discovered that the 2% had not been done, I understand that it's been given to you tonight. I do apologize for that. And Mr. Manager, with your staff, don't let that happen again. Because the reason we have these upfront meetings in advance is to make sure that everything is documented. And it's very clear. I asked for both options, 2% and 3%. So when I'm doing something, I want to make sure my colleagues has the information way in advance, just like I like to have it. Having said that, it's before you for 3%. But I did ask, and I wanted you to have the option of the 2%, because as we know, there were some employees who received a pay increase over the last few months to bring them up to a certain level. We know that a lot of our directors, et cetera, have received increases because of their appointment to different positions. But as I call the middle folks, those in the middle that really do a lot of the work as well, have not received any compensation increase over a long period of time. And so therefore I wanted to give all of them across the board, so it could not be said that anyone was left out, a 3% or 2% compensation increase. And so the legislation before us, I still, based on the numbers and the information given, would still support the 3% increase. You do have in front of you where it would be coming from. I don't think it's a amount of money. And I think it's important that we do that and show all of our employees that we want to do what we can to compensate them for the work they do, especially over the years when they have not had any kind of pay increase. Again, this I know that the union employees have received something via their contract. And that's why I had mentioned really early on, way back, I would have hoped that we could have done a cost of living way back before those contracts. But be that as it may, that is the legislation before you. I still would support the 3%, but I wanted my colleagues to have both options of numbers so that you can compare them and what the analysis provided from the budget department looks like. So that is before you. I'll entertain any questions, or if you have any questions of management or budget.
Mr.
you can ask
Mayor.
those. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No problem, Commissioner Kelly. Commissioner Williams?
No, so Commissioner Kelly, thank you for proffering the legislation. The reason why I pulled it is because it was it kind of bumped heads with the city manager's legislation, but once he deferred it, but I was fine with it. However, I did want to say that on the back of the cover memo, it actually does say it, Commissioner Kelly, under the financial impact, it does talk about the 3% and the 2%. It's not much difference. It's probably in fiscal year 2023, the 3% impacts 31,000, whereas the 2% impact is 20,600. There is a slight difference in terms of the annualization of 75,000 to 50,000. So it pretty much just depends on what say us, the board, but I did want to mention that it was there. And I will and I think for me, if it does affect the 25 staff members, I guess my question is, if we pass this tonight, I don't know if the city manager is planning to bring the pay plan back. So if the pay plan comes back, then now are we bumping heads with the passage of this, or then that means that doesn't come back and we don't get to see the scales? Through the mayor, to the manager.
Through the mayor to Commissioner Williams, the lack of having an adopted pay plan was actually a finding of the operational audit that was conducted by the state. I am required by that agreement to bring the pay plan back for your consideration, and we'll be doing so hopefully at the next commission meeting.
So thank you. So my question, Mr. Manager, does both legislations, do they coincide together? Do they bump heads together? Like, how does this work? If we pass this tonight, then how do we then bring back review a pay plan? So
they operate two very, very different ways. Here you have a 2% or 3% increase that goes out to all employees that have not had an increase, regardless of where you are in your scale. If you are at the maximum of your scale, you're still going to get a 3% increase. For example, so that's how a 2% or a 3% increase works. How a pay plan works is you get a professional contractor that takes an assessment of all of our salaries, pulls salaries that are public records from surrounding cities, do a comparative analysis to see where is the city of Opa-locka vis-a-vis all the other cities in the marketplace? Then make recommendations to give adjustments. If an employee is found not to be at the minimum recommendation, then they are given an increase. And that increase could be 1%, 2%, 10%. Whereas other employees, if they're found within the range, their salaries are not impacted. To give a real-time example of how that will work for the city of Opa-locka is, for example, I think the pay plan looks at employees. We had 10 years where the police department did not receive raises and 14 years where the union employees did not receive raises. So if an employee, even after we've done some of these increases, is still found below, that we haven't caught them up yet, is still found below, like school crossing guards. When I came on board as your interim city manager, your school crossing guards were making $10.25 an hour. A minimum, we negotiated a minimum starting salary of $15 an hour. But the pay plans review for some instances says that's still too low, that they may need to be at 17. So if that is passed, then it would bring them up to the 17. And even there, if they're making $15 an hour and we give them a 3% raise, they're still not at the minimum. So the pay plan would step in to continue to make them whole. So it will help continue to address some of those employees that are still below the market rates. The benefit of an increase, of across the board increase, is that it helps the people that are already may have been here for a long time, but are already maxed out. For example, some of the employees, for example, we have a few executive employees that are executive assistants that are making $55,000 a year, which is, and one of them have not had an increase because she's been at the max. She's been at the max of $55,000 for some time. So the only increases that she's eligible for are performance evaluation increases, which we've just implemented. That will be based inside in the cost of living increases. So it will help her to get additional compensation as she's already maxed out. And a pay plan does not give salary increases to people that are already at the minimum, and certainly people that are maxed out. I hope I explained that.
You did. Thank you. And so one additional question. So we passed the 3% increase tonight, and after assuming the legislation for pay plan is passed, if an employee after the pay plan this is hypothetical, says 5%, we pass 3% tonight, will then the pay plan supplement that employee an additional 2% in order to make up the 5%? Not actually, because the pay plan says 5%, now that employee is going 8%. So I just want to make sure on the record, like I know which way we're going to go with both legislations.
Yes, you are correct with the first scenario. The pay plan will supplement, not add on to another 5%. If the recommendation is that, say, for example, again, school crossing guards, we know school crossing guards are still less than 3% below. So they would get their 3%, and then the pay plan, once implemented, will give them an additional increase to where the minimum market rate is.
Thank you. In that case, after you broke it down, and I just want to make sure it was, on the record, so we know I'm definitely comfortable with moving forward with the legislation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Kelly.
To my colleague, the reason why the sheet you have before you is because we didn't have that with the 2% in our package, and I wanted to make sure that you had it, because I had not seen the 2% numbers either, because we just got it today. And that's why I wanted to make sure you had the comparison of it before we made a final decision. Let me just say, and the manager alluded to some of it, but I think some of this is, as you say in your words, we've put this whole process ahead of how we should have done it, but we are where we are. And I still think that we need to compensate those folks who have not had an increase, and the cost of living is the best way to do it across the board for everyone that's impacted the same way. Thank you.
Anyone else on this item? Hearing none, Madam Clerk? Can we call the question?
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes,
motion passes 5-0.
okay. Madam Attorney, next item, 1310.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, establishing Earth Day as an observed city holiday, providing for a repealer, severability, and effective date. This is sponsored by Commissioner Williams.
Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Williams. Second by Commissioner Bass. You gotta turn your mic. Commissioner Williams?
Yes, just to be brief, we know that, Earth Day and just being sustainable within our community is the goal. Just to make sure that we observe it, within the city, it does not have a financial impact. However, just to ensure that when we're now and then for the future of our the residents as we continue to move forward, that we observe Earth Day and establish and continue to make our city as sustainable as possible. Thank you.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, I just want to put in the conversation just so that everybody is on the same page. When we received this legislation or the staff analysis for it, it just talked about it being a national holiday. And it also references the prior meetings agenda where Commissioner Bass sponsored legislation. And I believe that those are national holidays, and the way that the city treats those as they will be paid holidays. So you all should probably consider, because I don't, as Commissioner Williams just said, that's not her intent. So I think she wants it to be, from what I understand from her agenda briefing, observed as opposed to a national holiday. And so if what we'll do is we will rewrite the legislation to be consistent with what she's saying as opposed to what was in the staff report. If that makes sense. So we'll rewrite it, but we'll write it so that it is not a national holiday. It will be an observed holiday of the city, where you're not paying staff to be off for that day.
That's
that's,
that's why I pulled the item, because I just wanted to know if it had a financial impact or not, or was it like a day off with pay? So that's why I just wanted clarity on that.
Yeah, and thank you. I wanted to say, when speaking with Madam Attorney, I just wanted to make sure that when we give agenda items, they're clear. And this unfortunately was not clear. Specifically when when I gave this item, never was it to be an observed holiday or the usage of the word holiday. And I made that clear in my agenda briefing and as well as before. So the write-up of the resolution, unfortunately, I have to say is incorrect, and was not my intent to say observe city holiday, but it's an observance for the city that we observe Earth Day throughout the city. So thank you, Madam Attorney, if we can fix that. And
yes, and again, I
Yes.
just want to be clear that we get the information from the staff report, so that we will correct it.
thank you.
okay, so
Does it need to be a
then,
resolution?
I was just about to ask the same question.
An amendment to it? Do I need to make an amendment Madam Attorney?
Yes, to say that it's an observed holiday as opposed to a national holiday. It was referred to as national holiday in the staff report. So that's how it was picked up as national holiday. But if you intend for it to be observed, then you will state that as an amendment and then we'll make that change.
So the resolution here says observed. It doesn't say national.
I think in the body, it references national.
Okay, so I would like to make an amendment to remove the word national. And I want to be clear, there is absolutely no financial impact on the city. So that's the amendment.
Is that an amendment?
Yes, it is.
Okay, second amendment.
All right, so the amendment was to change the language. It was moved by Commissioner Williams and seconded by Commissioner Kelly. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0 on the amendment.
All right, any other discussion on this item or can we call the question? All right, Madam Clerk?
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Bass.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes,
motion passes 5-0.
okay. Madam Attorney. 1311.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, directing the interim city manager to conduct a workshop for the business community regarding business signage requirements within 60 days, providing for corporation recitals, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by Commissioner Williams.
Can I get a motion?
Move for discussion.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Williams?
Okay, just again, going back to the earlier conversation that we had. And then again, speaking to businesses about the signage requirements in terms of the code and what, again, like I stated before, it's not clear language in the code what that signage should look like, what it should be in terms of not just color, but lighting and everything. It's not clear. And what we want to do with this legislation, forgive me, with the workshop is to have the businesses ensure that they have a voice in what that signage requirements is. What I want to do in going back to 5 and 7 is pull the item. I would like to connect it to the workshop with Vice Mayor Irvin, and then that can be joint legislation with the with that resolution. And then, of course, moving forward, when we get to the actual resolutions after all the workshops, we can do that together as well. Thank you.
Okay.
I
So,
pulled 11.
got it. So 11 was pulled. Moving on to our public planning and zoning items. Madam Attorney, 15-1.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving a minimum lot variance for the construction of a 4-story multifamily apartment building on the property located at 1300 Sesame Street and identified by folio number 08-2121-002-1110 in the R3 zoning district, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the interim city manager.
All right, can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Bass,
Second.
second by Commissioner Williams. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is one of our community development items, and I have our Director of Community Development, Mr. Gay, available to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, but before Mr. Gay comes up, this is a public hearing item. Public hearing is open for this item. Public hearing is closed. Mr. Gay?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, Gregory Gay, Director of Planning and Community Development. The item before you is requesting a variance to the minimum lot size requirement. This is a project that is being presented in the R3 zoning, which is moderate density multifamily residential. Under normal circumstances, the minimum lot size for this particular type of development would be approximately 9,600 square feet, 9,600 square feet. This particular lot size comes in at about 8,800 square feet, 8,800 square feet. So it's about 800 square feet shy, a little less than 10% of what would be the normal lot size for this particular type of development. So in order for this development to move forward, we would like for you to consider approval for the variance. This was presented before the Planning and Zoning Board, and staff does recommend approval. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions through the manager to Mr. Gay? Hearing none. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly, I'm sorry.
I thought you were doing a question for him, not, we still in discussion?
Oh, yeah, Commissioner Kelly?
Okay, well, since he's there, I'll ask him a question. Mr. Gay, can you give me the number size again on how many feet they're less? About 800, 900 feet?
It's not.
It's between 800 and 900 square feet, approximately 886 square feet, if my memory serves me correct. When you calculate it out, it's less than 10% of the lot size.
Okay, let me just say again, because this is gonna keep happening, and I hope we're around 10, 15 years from now as we see it. Anytime we do these developments, and I know it's 12 spots inside or 13 spots inside, and the assumption is gonna be 2 cars per family. And then anybody else will be parking, as I call it, side the road. And then that becomes off-street parking, that becomes a challenge. I'm all for development, I'm all for, housing, and we need housing. But we keep running to the same challenge, and this is a variance, so we're actually approving to allow it to occur, knowing there's really not enough space. And that always gives me concern when we do that. I know nothing's been on this property for a while, and it looks like a nice development, if you will, but I still can see those cars parked on the side of the road a year from now when it's built or whenever, simply because parking is just always that challenge. And when you're talking about a variance, we're actually agreeing and okaying. It's not like it's just can be put there because of the zoning, but it requires a variance for it to make it happen. So that's always a concern I have. But thank you for your explanation, Mr. Gay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Gay?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Williams?
thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to say, and I'm gonna echo the sentiment. Just using the usage of that word variance, just completely, I hate when I see it. And what tends to happen is, and I've asked this before, and when during planning and zoning, what are those discussions? But planning and zoning never comes before the board to give us any feedback. What are those discussions that are being had during those meetings when we talk about parking? And that seems to be something that we as a board, it has been discussing a lot lately. We want to be future thinkers, forward thinkers, thinking about our children and our children's children when it comes to Opa-locka. And if we continue to pass and pass and pass, what we're going to have is a parking lot. We're going to have a parking lot. And however, there never seems to be a fix. There never seems to be from the department what can happen? What can we do? I'm not comfortable with the variance language. I'm just not comfortable with it. At some point, we're going to have to have conversations with the contractors so that there can be something. I don't care. And I'm, pay by parking. I said it again, pay for street parking, all of that so that we can stop this bleeding that is happening in our city. Cars are piled up, not just in multifamily apartment buildings, they're piled up in residential streets and neighborhoods. They're just piled up and nothing. So we have to do something different. And but we're pretty much always doing the same thing. So on that, I'm not, I don't know if I'll hear from the rest of my colleagues, but I'm not in favor for that. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Bass?
this property is about maybe 2 minutes away from my house. And like Commissioner Williams just said, we are just stacking cars already on top of each other. I seriously have a problem with it. It's close to a school and we talk about beautification, and having cars stacked on each other is not equivalent to beautification for me. I really don't like it. It's 4 stories. Maybe they should go down to 1, less parking, who knows? But for this, it does not sit well with me as we are trying to ratify all these random cars in our city.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Gay? Hearing none. Mr. Manager, considering what Commissioner Bass just stated, and hearing my colleagues, if we vote and this fails, will they be able to bring this back?
Absolutely, they can.
Unless, do you just want to pull it and allow them to?
I actually pulled this item before, and I met with the developer and made the recommendation that he take it down 1 story. He considered it, and I thought we were moving in that direction. He had a change of heart and then decided that he wanted to bring it back before you just as is. And so here we are.
Okay, so you don't want to pull it, you want to?
I do not.
Okay. All right, so
Mr. Mayor, if I could just add a little more clarification. This variance has nothing to do with the parking, even though the parking is part of the design that the applicant has brought before you. But this variance is really based on the size of the lot itself. And even if it was 1 story shorter, because of the number of units and the parking requirements that he's looking at, he would still need to get a variance for this particular type of development. The only type of development that would pretty much meet the minimum requirements based on the size of the lot would be for either a single family or a duplex. But the property is zoned for multifamily, so the developer is seeking to develop it as it is so zoned.
okay, so what we're voting on, I think we understand we're voting on the size, but I think we were. Okay, you all, any questions to Mr. Gay?
No. Call a question.
Call a question.
Ready.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if the developer is here, but they may, it appears as though they may want to speak on this item. Are those are you guys the developers? Okay.
He's a really elder developer.
I saw them talking amongst themselves. I didn't want them to think they couldn't speak if they wanted to. Thank you.
Now, Ms. Weeks.
He said we're the other developers, okay? All right, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Bass,
No.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
No.
Commissioner Kelly,
No.
Commissioner Williams,
No.
Mayor Taylor,
No.
motion fails.
All right, next item, Madam Attorney, 15A2.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving the final site plan review request for the construction of a four-story multifamily apartment building on the property located at 1300 Sesame Street and identified by folio 08-2121-002-1110 in the R3 zoning district, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the interim city manager.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, based on your last vote, we're going to withdraw items 2 and 3.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Do that, but.
On to the next one, Madam Attorney, 1584.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving the final site plan request from Hernandez Development Services LLC for the construction and operation of a four-story self-storage facility building that will provide approximately 1,200 storage units, provide the required parking spaces, and provide covered loading space for convenience at 14301 Northwest 27th Avenue and identified by folio 08-2122-000-0050 in the B3 zoning district, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the interim city manager.
Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Williams.
Second for
Se-
discussion.
Second for discussion by Vice Mayor. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is our second community development item. I also have our Community Development Director, Mr. Gay, available to answer any questions you may have regarding this item.
All right, before Mr. Gay comes to the mic, this is a public hearing item. Public hearing is open. Public hearing is closed. 1 second, sir.
Oh,
One
I thought, I.
Oh, you coming up for public hearing? Or you the
Oh,
developer?
I'm the applicant, so.
Oh, have fun.
Yeah, you will.
So public hearing is open.
Thank you. I apologize for lengthening our evening, but I figured I might as well show you what we've done and the improvements we've made since we've been working with the administration. Name Graham Penn, for Cowardell Fernandez, Larkin Tappan is 200 South Biscayne Boulevard. Representing the other developer, in other words, Hernandez Development Services, and our Hernandez team is here, as well as our architect, Fernando Silva. This application and the next item together request site plan approval and acceptance of a development agreement for a modern self-storage use on an underutilized commercial tract along 27th Avenue. There are no variances associated with this application. We are meeting our code required parking. I just want to mention that as we talk about. And as you'll see, this is a beautiful new modern building that will be a significant improvement to this property, a benefit to the neighborhood, and a low impact commercial use. Could I get the next slide? Thank you. So our property is outlined in blue here, just north of State Road 9. As you know, State Road 9 terminates into Burlington as you go west of 27th Avenue. We're right south of the rail corridor, and as you guys know, everything around in that immediate neighborhood is commercial, industrial, and heavy commercial type uses. Next slide. Here's a detail of our property. We're 2.2 acres. We're zone B3. It's a very long and skinny property that buffers along the railway. You'll see from the aerial here what the status quo of the property. It's a lot of open lot uses. And the property's been essentially kind of in this open pseudo, it's a tool rental place right now. So it's got a lot of open trailers in the back, et cetera. Next slide. Here's a view looking east of the property. The buildings that exist on the site were developed in the early 1960s. And as you might imagine from that time frame, nothing on the property meets your current standards for parking, for landscaping, for buffering at all, right? Again, the age of the property, the standards weren't in place. And of course, as properties get older, they tend to accrete more asphalt, less trees, et cetera. Next slide. Here's a view from within the property. You can see again, lots of open storage uses. Not a very pleasant place to be. There's very little kind of marked parking either. Next slide. This is a view looking north of the site on State Road 9. Those trees are actually gone now, but you can see again, open trailers, raggedy fence, not a great view as you're coming into the city. Next slide. So we see three major benefits of this application. First, we're introducing a beautiful modern building to this site, a modern building that complies with your Moorish guidelines in a very innovative, modern way, which we'll show you in a second. Second, from a site perspective, significant site improvements, introduction of actual landscaping, parking, modern drainage, all the things you get with a modern development, modern buffering. And of course, impacts of the project, given the nature of this use, a self-storage use has very limited external impacts. It's a quiet use. It's a use that doesn't generate a lot of traffic. And I'll show you that in a second. Next slide. So just the basics on the proposal. Fernando's going to come up here in a minute and take you through the architecture because I think he really did a great job and it's something we want to highlight. 4 stories, 146,000 square feet. We've got nearly 60 parking spaces. Next slide. This is the site plan view. You can see again, because the property is very long and narrow, the building is stretching along the railroad. And within that, you can see the parking is along State Road 9, including all the new landscaping and buffering that's getting added. Speaking of which, next slide. This project will bring 53 new trees and palms and over 400 new shrubs to this site, which of course right now has very little, if any, official landscaping other than weeds. So it will be, again, a significant modernization, irrigation controls finally, bringing this property into the 21st century. Next slide. As I alluded to earlier, it is a traffic reduction when compared with a lot of other uses you could have on this property. The nature of self-storage is that in the PM peak hours where you test your traffic, it is a very low traffic generator, 18 cars an hour in or out, right? So that's less than 1 car every 3 minutes in an hour. And the nature of the traffic is important too. Unlike a lot of the heavy and commercial industrial uses you see, including the current use, this kind of use does not have a lot of trucks, right? It doesn't have 18 wheelers. It doesn't have anything large. The folks that are coming and utilizing this business use their cars, use their SUVs, maybe rent a U-Haul. So it's passenger cars, smaller trucks, not large trucks like you see in an industrial type development. Next slide. So what I'm gonna have Fernando come up here now and take you through the design. We discussed this at length, speaking of planning and zoning during the planning and zoning meeting, and we were tasked with bringing some more higher quality Moorish elements by both the planning and zoning board and staff, and we think that Fernando has done it. So he's going to take you through the concept. We think this property is a example for how to apply it in a modern context, with a modern building, applying these elements that really will bring Opa-locka and show it is an Opa-locka building. Go ahead, Fernando, come up, name and address.
Good evening, my name is Fernando Silva, 2519 North Ocean Boulevard, Boca Raton, Florida. I'm representing Kenneth Carson Architect, the architect of record for this project. I would like to could you please first slide? We design a lot of buildings and in this type of use, storage buildings. We've been designing in Florida for many years, like around 60 or 70 of these buildings already in many different cities, and each city has its particularity. So contemplating the design guidelines that you have on this city actual right now, and trying to blend those with the Moorish style architecture that we've seen around the world, because some of these images are also from abroad. This is in particular in Europe. We try to blend those guidelines and these reinterpretation or revival of the Moorish architecture is happening around the world. And this is what I'm going to show you some examples of. This is a residential use, where you have some of the elements that you're going to see in our building like for example, the framed entrance, the verticality of the elements, of the patterns that repeats around the building, the screen, I'm sorry, the screen that protects the windows, traditionally from the sun, now could be sun, security, whatever it's called right now, but it's the same element that's been traditionally used for many years. Next slide, please. Again, this is, well, in this case, this is religious use, two different buildings, but again, with the same type of reinterpretation of the screening, typical in that architecture, typical in that for that architecture, and this verticality again that you see here. Next slide, please. Another type of screening system on, again, another religious building. Next slide, please. Oh, this is on the city, done already. It's a commercial building. I think it's finished a few months ago. We interpreted this the same way that this author did, verticality, screening, windows are like on a second plane. It's not facing the first plane of the building. Next slide, please. Next, please. This is the product we came up with after working side by side with city staff. Many versions that we propose and back and forth. You see the element that I was talking before about the entrance is the kind of portico, which is the framed entrance that we have here in red. And then another typical element is the transitional space that you go from exterior, complete exterior to inside. So you go in a sequence. It's not that you just open a door, just walk in. You have to walk through a sequence. That's typical for the same architecture that we mentioned before. The screening system, the screening that we have on the windows as well. In this particular case, we're still figuring out how to construct this, but it's going to be most likely a type of metal screen like we've seen in the previous building that we've seen already built in this same city, in this city. And then obviously this verticality of the elements you're going to see on the side view as well. We also incorporated some of the arches present in the traditional architecture, Moorish architecture as well. And next slide, please. We talking about colors, something that I mentioned before. Even if it doesn't change the palette that you're going to be approving maybe in the next 60 days or whatever it is, this building complies with the color palette that's already approved and it's current right now. So the red is crucial for this. Is a Cube Smart, and that is their color there, and we use it only in certain locations as a trim. That is what is approved in the guidelines. Next slide, please. On the side, you can see the verticality of the pattern is pretty much vertical. No horizontal lines almost, and we have this variation of parapet lines. So the building is like multiple buildings. Let's call it. It's not in order to reduce this long size of the building and its site itself. That helps a lot. And you can see the landscape as well that we are providing right now, which is, I don't remember the number of trees, but it's a huge amount of trees that will make this building and the site itself look much better than it is right now. If you go to the next slide, please. Some of the other elements present in the same architecture is this type of pattern, which we have in some cases we have imprinted in the ground floor as part of the concrete panel that this building will more likely be constructed by. In that sense, it will last forever. you still have the pattern there. And then in some other cases, you have on the second to the third floor, you have these other type of pattern that represent the same architecture again, going back to the original or traditional Moorish architecture as well. I don't think it's another one. That. Thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just gonna wrap up quickly. I apologize for us boring you, but I want to talk to you on the development agreement, and then we'll be done. I just want, before I move on to the development agreement, I just wanted to put a focus on that panel that's on the second level and above. Really will be a bold choice that makes it clear that when someone sees this building, they know they're not in unincorporated Dade County anymore, because you're using that Moorish patterning on those panels. We really think it's going to be a fantastic modern addition, and it's taking what Ironwood did, which is a nice clean building, and kicking it up a significant notch. Next slide. So the second item that's in front of you, I'm not going to bore you with two public presentations, but application number 5 is the development agreement portion of this, which of course you are very familiar with by this point. Development agreements are required of any project coming forward for site plan approval. They establish permitting and construction deadlines. They establish operational requirements. And most importantly, they establish continuing obligations of maintenance, which is an important element for the future. And of course, the fairly new addition of additional employment outreach requirements that are imposed on every applicant. Next slide. That's everyone's favorite slide. It's the final slide. So we would ask for your approval of both of these items tonight. We're excited to bring this property up to modern standards and meeting and exceeding what we've seen with modern Moorish architectural elements in the past. Our whole entire team is here for any questions you may have. And of course, I'd like to reserve any time for rebuttal if it becomes necessary. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Public hearing is still open. Public hearing is still open? Sure.
1211 Perry Street. Great
Wait,
proposal.
say it one more time.
Yeah, Merrick Williams, 1211 Perry Street. This particular place that you're looking at is a gateway to this community, being where it is. And looking at that design and design element, to me, I would ask the commission to hold off. It just doesn't seem to match. There's some elements there. I'm not sure you said red, whether you have to stick with red, but it's a bit distracting in a way when you're coming into this community as such, like it's a gateway point to the place. And not that the business isn't great, but maybe the design element can be a little bit more incorporated. If you look at City Hall, you possibly look at the house that I purchased, but it just seems like it doesn't seem to capture the period. And I don't see the metal siding so much here, but I just really like to ask this commission to maybe ask them to come back with another design that really, as a gateway place, even though the landscaping is there, to really highlight what they're coming into our city. And not that the business should leave, because it's great. It's just that the design element for me. And I just asked this commission to ask them to come back with something that looks a little bit more like our fabulous City Hall or some of the other buildings here.
Thank you. Public hearing is open. Public hearing is closed. All right, Mr. Gay, it was on you to present the item for the manager.
Mayor, Commissioners, again, Gregory Gay. I just wanted to highlight a few things that was expressed within the Planning and Zoning Board as it relates to the design of this particular structure. There were statements that were made by members of the board, and I'm not going to read them verbatimly, but the board did have some concern as it relates to the Moorish architecture and whether there was a adequate mimicization of what our Moorish architecture is. Most of this work was done through screening. It is a rather large building, so there is some concern that we did not want to extrapolate or basically make it where we're trying to make this building look like historic City Hall because it is a storage facility. So it is a modern building, but to basically make sure that there was a adequate amount of Moorish embellishment on the property itself. They did it through the screening. They did it through some of the other detailing that along the lower levels of the building. But as the building proceeds to go a little bit higher, as it goes beyond the human scale, there were some concerns that was expressed by at least 2 or 3 members of the board that they had some concerns about that. However, the board did approve recommendation for this item to go forward. As it relates to the development agreement, we did have 1 board member that did express some concerns as it relates to the employment outreach guidelines and whether that would be established as a part of or included within the development agreement to make sure that those particular matters were being established. Otherwise, this was presented before the Planning and Zoning Board. The board did recommend approval and staff does recommend approval as well. If you have any questions or concerns as it relates to the site plan and or the development agreement, I will address them at this time.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Mr. Gay at this moment?
Mr. Mayor, I
Vice Mayor?
do. As I expressed to you in my briefing, I was concerned about the architecture. I was concerned about it. There's a lot of windows there, and I told you that I would look up modern Moorish architecture, and even in the modern, they still have the oval windows at the arches at the top of the windows. I think a little bit more of what we represent could go into the building. I don't know. I'm seeing windows on the side, windows in the front. Like we could not curve windows to make them look like ours, curved doorways. When I looked up modern Moorish, there are some nicer things that doesn't look like City Hall, but it's still beautiful. They still represent who we are, Opa-locka. That was my concern during the briefing. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm done.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. Gay?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
it's a comment / concern that I've raised as well, but mine, not just with the more architecture, but really with the parking. And not the parking specifically in the place, but actually getting in and out. I looked at the analysis provided from the traffic study that indicates, and I'm on page 6 of the analysis, I guess, from the applicant's traffic study that talks about approximately 214 daily visits, I guess, between peak drive times going in and out, and that they don't require or warrant a turn-in from 27th Avenue. Let me just ask staff first. Usually when you have developments of this size, you normally don't have a complete turning lane for projects of this size where you're gonna have that much traffic.
To the commissioner, through the mayor, there were some concerns that were raised through the Department of Transportation as it relates to ingress and egress. More so if there was an opportunity to have ingress and egress off of State Road 9, to have some type of a deceleration lane to be introduced in order to properly access the property from State Road 9. As it relates to 27th Avenue, that span is a very short span. They were basically looking at utilizing the driveway that is existing there now as their ingress and egress. And presently there is no deceleration lane for that particular segment between Burlington and the railroad right of way. So we did not see that there was a need for an analysis from that particular perspective. But the Department of Transportation did provide us with a written notice, which should be included within your package, which basically stated that if they were going to have an access point from State Road 9, that there would need to be further analysis and to look at considerations for a deceleration lane that would be suitable enough to allow access to the property from State Road 9.
Okay, I guess my question really is to the applicant. Was that considered by staff's recommendation or the planning and zoning board as a recommendation? Here's my challenge. I mean, that's the old prize property. So I understand it's been there for a while, but that traffic there now is not gonna be a lot. I'm looking, according to this analysis, 214 daily trips in and out. The way that's constructed, coming on 27 going north without a designated lane, I'm concerned about being that close to the railroad track and the lights that are right there on that street and Alabama. That's why I asked that question. Is that something was even considered by the applicant to ease that challenge? Because now you're going to come straight down 27th, and if you're going to turn into the facility as it's constructed or proposed to be, you're going to, traffic's got to really stop, number one, for you to go in. And that's why I'm asking that question. That's a concern I've had. I raised it at the briefing. I mean, I like the idea. I had a challenge with the Moorish, whatever, but I'm not that challenged on it. But the traffic I am, because I'm just looking at a typical day. Even if I agree with the analysis of the peak time, AM and PM that is given by the study presented, I'm just looking at reality of I'm going to turn in to go to the storage unit, even if it is a small truck, car, everything in that right lane is going to stop literally until they turn. And I don't see a way, at least from what I'm seeing in the presentation or in the booklet, any way that you can slow that traffic down or whoever's going to turn to go into the facility, because it's only just that way. So was there consideration trying to do another entrance off of State Road 9 to maybe ease that? Yeah, that's a question I have first. I mean, that's probably more, not yours or probably.
Staff did not do that analysis. I'll allow the applicant to address it.
Thank you.
Commissioner, could you guys find the site plan for us? Back up. Just click till you get there. A couple of things. Number one, that 214 trips, as Commissioner Kelly notes, is the entire day, right? So that's an entire day of traffic. That's not an hour. That's not 2 hours. That's a day, right? So we're looking at, as I said before, 20 trips in the AM or the peak hour or average, right? Which means, again, one person every 3 minutes. That's what that averages out to. The other thing I wanted to add on the access is that unlike the current situation where you have basically Fry's right there, because that's what the building's like right next to 27th Avenue. This project has been engineered to ensure that we have what the engineers and what Fernando would call an adequate throat distance, which means you get into the property and there's not parking right there. You're not trying to like immediately turn into a space and you're blocking someone from coming in. So because we've designed the property to meet modern standards of the city or FDOT standards for that driveway, there's more than enough room for people to get in and get out of the way, right? Which is the most important thing in any of these properties. Given the incredibly low generation of traffic, we don't think a separate entrance on State Road 9 really makes any sense for anyone. It doesn't, as the report analyzed, it doesn't trigger any warrants for, which is what the FDOT would call a study for that stuff, for those materials. So we're confident that this modern engineered site plan meets the requirements and will not create a problem with people backing up or getting blocked. All right, well, yeah, I apologize. I'm not going to keep blathering, but that's the response to that question.
Okay, I appreciate your response, whether it's 214 a day or that one car that doesn't give a signal and then just whips in there. My concern is not inside. Your parking inside is adequate. I don't have a challenge with that as at all. My challenge is I'm coming down 27th Avenue and I'm going to go into the storage facility. And if I'm not a really focused or whatever, because there's no turn, usually in storage places and most other big developments or big places like this, there is a turn dedicated for that. And that's not the case. So when I envision and I ride down 27th Avenue, like a lot of places, I've always had the concern even with Fry's, even though it was probably grandfather, you didn't have as much stuff as you have now, or the traffic wasn't as congested. That's why I asked, was there any consideration given for a cut in from State Road 9? Because that's just.
And I apologize, Commissioner. I missed your question. The deceleration issue, which is, that's what they call one of those lanes where you pull over and you slow down. There's no room for a deceleration lane is the short version of that. Given the constraints of this property, you need basically over 100 traffic engineers will kill me, but it's about 100 feet in distance to get into a deceleration lane and eventually turn in. The FDOT has standards for that. So literally nothing on this property could ever accommodate that, right? It's just not going to happen. And the reason that we think that this is the best of the options here is really because this is such a low generator of traffic that interaction, that turning interaction, is going to be so significantly reduced versus any modern use you would put on this property, right? If you put a distribution facility on the property, if you put an auto repair shop on this property, any of those type of uses, which again, we think are not a good idea for this part of the city anyway, any more of them, it would create more of a problem, right? With large trucks trying to navigate it, et cetera. So this use, because of its impact on traffic and the nature of its traffic, the smaller cars I talked about before, is probably the best one you could imagine to deal with that physical situation.
Okay, not to belabor the point, but my question really was
State Road
there
9?
consideration given on a cut in from State Road 9, as was mentioned earlier, as a part of the overall process of this project? I understand, according to the analysis by the traffic study, it doesn't warrant it. I would beg to differ, but I'm not the expert, so I'll defer to that. But I was just asking, was there consideration giving on or in a cut in, or asking DOT, State Road 9 folks about a cut in from somewhere, coming east to west? That was really my question.
No, and I understand. And I think I've failed to answer your question twice in a row at this point, but let me answer it that way. And part of what Mr. Gay read is that we have the FDOT has basically said, as they do for every project, you need to get a driveway permit from us, right? You need to come in after this project is hopefully approved by by the city, and they will analyze the driveways through their driveway permitting process, right? So that will include, I believe, a discussion of whether an access off of State Road 9 is more appropriate. So that is because that's their road, right? So that we have two FDOT roads, as far as I understand, at least, or it's 27th Avenue County Road. We will be dealing with them through the permitting process. So the answer is, it has not yet been decided. And but we are confident that the numbers support not doing it. And because the expense and the complexity of doing it for this use would probably make this use, frankly, impossible to build. As my client reminds me, this is a very expensive site to redevelop. given its elevation, the amount of land we have to bring in to bring everything up to current standards. This is a challenging site for multiple reasons. But, you know, we're willing to continue to keep working with your staff and FDOT on that question. If it's formed in the way of exploring it as an option, I think that's a safe thing that we can agree to.
Okay, well, I was kind of leaning to, you said, expense and they spent money on it. You know, when you decide to build, you have to take all that into consideration. So I'd like to see that option explored as a possibility for I know there's a process with them. I know there's permitting. I know all of that, but I'd like to see that occur, because even though it's 214, you're saying daily trips based on the analysis. You don't know, because where we're sitting and who may be leasing these places, you know, these spots, how often they're going to come. But regardless of whether 10 comes in the morning or 10 at night or 10 overnight, they still got to come one way to get in there and one way to get out, right on State Road, almost by, not the State Road now, but almost by the railroad track, and coincide with those lightings. So that was why. So I would hope you would pursue that. I know I can't demand that, but I would just encourage and hope that occurs if this should pass. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, and I apologize for interrupting, but I think we have no objection to continuing to investigate that as we go forward in the FDOT permitting process.
All right. Thank you, sir. Any other questions for Mr. Gay? Any other questions for the manager on this item, or are we ready to call the vote? All right, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Kelly. Commissioner Williams,
No.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
No.
Mayor Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-2.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the extra time for me blathering.
Thank you, sir. 15A,
Five. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving the development agreement request from Hernandez Development Services LLC for the construction and operation of a 4-story self-storage facility building that will provide approximately 1,200 storage units, provide the required parking spaces, and provide covered loading space for convenience at 14301 Northwest 27th Avenue, and identified by folio 08-2122-000-0050 in the B3 zoning district, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the interim city manager.
can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Bass. Can I get a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Second for discussion. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a continuing item from the previous developer, and I have our Community Development Director, Mr. Gregory Gay, available to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Okay, this is a public hearing item. Public hearing is open.
I know you love to see me again. Graham, Penbrook, Howard, L. Fernandez, Larkin, Tappanis, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard. I'll just say for the record, before you right now is the development agreement, which is the standard form document required of every site plan. As discussed during our other presentation, this includes maintenance, operational requirements, construction deadlines, as well as employment outreach requirements in the standard form prepared by the city attorney. So we would ask for your approval of the standard development agreement tonight.
Public hearing is closed. Mr. Gay?
Gregory Gay for the record. This is for the development agreement. They pretty much have the standard language. They did want to highlight the employment guidelines that we would like to see as it relates to opportunities for local residents within the city of Opa-locka to be a part of the construction, as well as by them having a retail space for the storage facility itself to consider employment opportunities for local residents as a part of that. It does provide the standard timelines for completion of the project. And if there are any opportunities where there could be additional activities taking place on the site that will be under their consideration, that we will look at that. Staff does recommend approval. It was presented before the Planning and Zoning Board. And if you have any other questions or concerns, I'll address them at this time.
Any questions for Mr. Gay to the manager?
Miss-
Commissioner Kelly?
Thank you. Mr. Gay, you mentioned earlier that there was some concerns raised by Planning and Zoning Board members over the development agreements, some provisions of it. What were they? Because I didn't see them in the packet.
We had one of the board members express some concerns and wanted more details as it relates to what opportunities the employment design, the employment guidelines for hiring local residents.
Okay, and your response to them was what? I mean, I don't see it in the, that's what I'm asking you.
As we've done in the past, and as that whole aspect of development continues to evolve, we look at opportunities where the developer can hold job fairs to announce that there are positions available during the construction phase, as well as during the utilization phase when you have the end user operation in place. If there are any opportunities where there may be training that can be done, we do seek that to occur as well. So there could be training opportunities for local residents during the construction phase, as well as during at the time of the operation of the facility itself.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Gay? All right, any other discussion on this item? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Williams,
No.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
No.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes.
motion passes 3-2.
Madam Attorney 15A6.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, approving the tentative plat request for the construction and operation of an industrial and commercial mixed-use retail and warehouse distribution facility on the property located at 12691 Northwest 42nd Avenue and 12705 Northwest 42nd Avenue, identified by folio 08-2129-000-0050 and 08-2129-000-0064 in the B3 zoning district, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the interim city manager.
Can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Bass, I'm sorry.
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is another item and another development that is moving through our Community Development Department. And I have on hand Mr. Gregory Gay, our Director of Community Development, available to the commission to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. This is a public hearing item. Public hearing is open. Public hearing is closed. Mr. Gay?
Mayor and Commissioners, Gregory Gay. This is the proffering of a tentative plat for the reconstruction of a commercial and commercial and industrial mixed-use development. This is the Ironworks Phase 2 and 3, which was previously approved by the commission. As this development begins to move forward, they will have to go through a replatting process of the site in order for the site to be considered developable. They've already begun the demolition process. I think they're about 90% complete on that particular phase of it. And this is basically to complete them going through the process so that they can have their permitting documents in place in order to move forward with this development. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Gay on this item? Okay, any comments or concerns or discussion on this item? All right, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Bass?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. Madam Attorney, we're going into our ordinances, 16A1.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, renaming Butterfly Garden to Commissioner Rose Titus Prayer Garden, providing for a repealer, severability, and effective date, sponsored by Commissioner Bass.
All right, can I get a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Williams, second by Vice Mayor. This is a public hearing item, I'm sorry, Commissioner Bass, go ahead and present your item.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring this to the mayor and commission, and I'm asking for your support in renaming the Butterfly Garden Commissioner Rose Titus Prayer Garden. She has served as city commissioner, vice mayor, and even our city clerk. Reading the newspapers from back in the 80s and what she has done as she was working in the city of Opa-locka, she was instrumental in bringing that butterfly garden to the city. She went to the news media. She did some of everything. And I had a conversation with her not too long ago, and she told me that her intention was not to name it a butterfly garden. She wanted it to be a prayer garden, but she did not have the support. So I'm simply asking my colleagues to support me in honoring Rose Titus, former commissioner of Opa-locka, former vice mayor, former city clerk, Rose Titus Prayer Garden. Thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing item. Public hearing is open.
Good evening, Audrey Dominguez, 1147 Jen Avenue. I like the idea, beautiful. I just would like if they would consider putting a rose, there for her because her name is Rose Titus. So I think that maybe that'll incorporate her name a little bit more. Thank you.
Okay. Public hearing is closed. Any discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, sorry.
I don't have a discussion. I just want to mention that Commissioner Bass left out. She gave the best Halloween parties
She really
in
did.
Opa-locka. Yes, she brought the community out.
Didn't like that word.
Well, it was the 70s, but
She
70s party, but it was always on October 31st.
didn't like Halloween.
didn't like Halloween. It had to be 70s. You could not celebrate Halloween.
For me, it was a Halloween party. They were wonderful. Yeah, she brought the community out and I do support the item. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Bass, go ahead, Commissioner Kelly.
No, I'm support. I just wanted to be listed as a co-sponsor if possible.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Williams?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Commissioner Bass. Beautiful gesture. And I hope that one day we all have our own butterfly rose garden. I want to say just a beautiful spirit. I actually have a nickname. I call her the Claire Huxtable of the commission. So that's how I view her. So thank you for proffering this item, and I would love to co-sponsor with you.
Co-sponsor.
Yeah.
The only thing, I support the item fully, and thank you for bringing it, but I saw that has no financial impact. The only thing I was gonna ask, could we put a dollar amount on it? Because as it stands today, there is no signage out there. So I just wanna build something like they have at Shavani Village, that says Shavani Village, but it says Rose Titus, Butterfly Garden. Is that in the works?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to refer that
Okay,
to.
like all of our parks have a sign. So
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we have a sign on the building, on the park itself. Mr. Manager?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we are working with the CRA on that particular aspect of the improvement of the garden. And it is my understanding that a resolution for $50,000 to be, or to improve the garden is coming before the CRA soon.
That will include the sign?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And I too want to co-sponsor it with you. Thank you for bringing this. Yeah, Rose Tide is, I think she's one of the nicest people I've ever met. So can we call the question?
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Commissioner Bass.
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes,
motion passes first reading.
thank you. Madam Attorney, 16A2.
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, designating Northwest 22nd Place from Superior Street to Northwest 139th Street as Vice Mayor Dorothy Johnson Place, providing for a repealer, severability, and effective date. This is sponsored by Commissioner Kelly.
Okay, can I get a motion?
Move it.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Williams, second by Vice Mayor, Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was actually something I was contemplating to work on before she made her transition. So it speaks for itself. All of us are fully aware of the service that she gave, both on the commission, even after leaving office. So I would just ask for support. And in her late words, she would say verbatim. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Verbatim. All right,
If I may,
Commissioner Bass.
Commissioner Kelly.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. This is a public hearing item. Public hearing is open. Public hearing is closed. Commissioner Bass?
Thank you. Commissioner Kelly, I would love to co-sponsor with you. I think maybe all of us will because she has played a role in each and every one of our lives. So with that being said, I would love to co-sponsor.
Well, Bass spoke for everybody, so.
Yes, that's fine.
Any other discussion on this, this item? Hearing none, Commissioner Kelly, thank you for leading this charge. It is well deserved. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Irvin,
Yes.
Mayor Taylor,
Yes,
motion passes first reading.
okay. All righty, we're almost there. We're going into our city manager's report. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am very, very excited to make a special announcement regarding our Public Works Department. It has been a mission of this administration to remove all pump stations from moratorium since coming on board last year. What that means, I want to explain what that means. When a pump station goes on moratorium, that prohibits the city and all of its department from allowing new businesses to operate or come into the city that anywhere that pump station services. So when we have a pump station that goes into moratorium, that means that the building and license department cannot issue permits. Community development freezes from reviewing any new developments in that area, and the city manager cannot authorize any new businesses to operate in that facility or even to expand their capacity. So it really impacts the city of Opa-locka's ability to grow whenever we have pump stations that are under moratorium. We have been working on one particular pump station that has impacted Pump Station 8, which has impacted our ability to allow new businesses to operate there. And I would like to acknowledge, if he would stand, please, I would like to acknowledge Mr. Aria Austin, our Director of Public Works, who was successful this week in removing two pump stations number 4 and pump stations number 8 from moratorium. So kudos to Mr. Austin for that. And I'm extremely excited to make that announcement to the commission and to the community. Next, I would like to ask if Miss Alexia Robotham would stand. She is joining our team as the Director of Human Resources, and we are very, very excited and pleased that she's joining us from the county. Thank you. So we welcome her. I'd like to next announce that we will be planning some special events along with the commission to celebrate with our employees for a cookout that we're planning for next Friday in celebration of our birthday, our 97th birthday. And again, we also have, we're continuing to the tradition that we started last year of celebrating Public Works Week and Police Appreciation Week next week. So we're looking at having a special event on Tuesday and Thursday. And we'll give the announcement to the commission. I hope you're able to join us. That concludes my report.
Okay, any questions for the city manager? Beth says she's hungry, okay. Move-
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Kelly?
Mr. Manager, I asked for a response on the tour that was held here in the city. And I asked for that report the next day for a time certain that I didn't get for almost 3 or 4 days. There are other things that I've asked for that I've not gotten in a timely manner. As one of my colleagues said, I don't have time to waste, but when I ask for something, I expect to be answered, and if it can't be answered, an acknowledgement of it, and when a response is going to come. Furthermore, the response that was given regarding that tour was very insufficient. It had so many loopholes of how that took place. And in my opinion, I'm going to speak for Kelly. Total disrespect for the office of a commissioner. Total disrespect. To be told, to be said, to find out from citizens that we've got the county mayor in our city taking a tour, and I'm at Shabandi doing farm share for the community to find out later, why wasn't you on a tour? Why weren't you a part of what was going on? And then when I reached out to you via email for a response by the close of business day, I didn't get a response really until the weekend was about over. That's unacceptable. Now, other folks can, act like things don't occur, but I will not be disrespected sitting here as a sitting commissioner. Whatever one of us, and you're going to have somebody come in here for a tour, I don't care if it's co-chaired or partnered with CRA or whomever, I expect to know about it. And this idea about it's going to come forward, so having all of us there might be some kind of sunshine issue. All it has to do is be noticed by the clerk. Now, that's the last time that I'm going to say this. I respect the time of everyone. I've sent you things regarding Meet Me Monday, giving you ample time to respond. Sometimes I get responses a week later. Sometimes I get them way after or partial. I am not going to just sit here and allow you to decide when you're going to respond and how you're going to respond when I give you ample time. I recognize your time is valuable. You're the city manager. When I send you correspondence, I don't even say you have to come. You can send a designee because I know you're running a whole city. But I also know, having been around long enough, that there are enough folks on your staff, the questions, the concerns that I have are raised, staff maybe can answer, maybe they can't, but they can take the information back. And this last one here with the resolution that passed tonight about the 3%, to me, that was the last part. I went through the process. I left the message with your staff, met with them. They understood fully. I get to the briefing and it's incomplete. That's all I'm going to say on it. And I'm still waiting on a completed report on what took place and what's supposed to be the outcome of that meeting. And Mr. Mayor, I appreciate you being with the county mayor. But when somebody comes into our city, especially the county mayor, state representative, senator, I would like to be notified. If there's some reason why they prefer not to have all 5 of us as a part of some meeting or setting, Just acknowledge that. But it can't be because of sunshine violation. This commission as well, previous and before, have taken tours with more than one of us there. The other thing is, while we're doing all of these improvements around City Hall and painting, it would be nice to put some kind of signage and let folks know what's taking place. So when citizens come and they can't park anywhere around or whatever, they at least know something is going on. There's alternate parking wherever it is while we're sprucing up or whatever we're doing. I am not going to say this again. It's the last time I'm going to say it. Other folks can be quiet, whatever. I won't do it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other comments to the manager or questions regarding?
Yeah, it's a comment, I guess. Last Wednesday, excuse me, after doing farm share, I noticed Mr. Alex, I noticed Mr. Brown. I even noticed the mayor's truck. I never saw you, but I noticed the mayor's truck. And also 2 reporters that was there. Not thinking nothing of it. I spoke to everybody and then I left, only to get a call a couple of days later and they're telling me that, oh, you guys are on the news. Well, we didn't see you, only the mayor and, you know, the selected people. I don't know who selected them or how they got chosen to represent the city as a whole, but I know that I knew nothing about it. But I received a couple of calls talking about the Channel 4 newscast that we were on, and I just have a problem with finding out certain things from our residents. I'm glad that they tell me because otherwise I wouldn't know, but I thought that was a disservice to the rest of us because we're all up here equal. The only difference between the mayor and us is he's the parliamentarian of the meeting. So I don't know how the mayor gets privileged to everything, but we're sitting in the back, not even knowing what's going on here in the very city that we're supposed to represent. I just had an issue with that. We would like to know as well going forward what's going on in our city before we hear it from the residents. Thank you.
Well, was that a
Mr.
question to me? Because I can respond to all of that.
No, it wasn't a question to you, it was a statement.
But
Mr.
you-
Mayor,
You did.
You were there, we were not.
Mr.
I was, it wasn't my, go ahead.
are you're responding? Because I would like to speak.
I was gonna respond.
Okay, go ahead.
Really quick. One, as it relates to the interview, I was told the night before. I didn't know anything about it. So it wasn't
You
my
were
thing.
told, we were
It wasn't my
not.
thing. So I don't
Okay.
know what transpired. And as it relates to the tour, I wasn't invited by the city. I was actually invited from some place outside the city. So the mayor's not privileged. So I don't, let's. I just
Well,
wanna-
we don't know.
Mr.
So-
Mayor. Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
No, Commissioner Williams has the floor.
thank you. According to our city charter, we all have an equal vote. As the former mayor, making sure that everyone on the dais knew at all times what was going on. And in terms of tours or anything. I know for a fact that everything that came across my desk, and I do know I can speak candidly, and I know Commissioner Kelly can too, as a former mayor, you receive more, you get more. People tend to come to you more, but it is a ceremonial. Mayors are not assistant city managers, and that's what's happening right now. We have a lot of underground meetings happening. I was also the beautiful part about myself is I know those same county officials. And those same county officials said that they had absolutely no problem had it been noticed for all of us to attend. I don't know where the breakdown was. I don't know who's to blame, but I know it's disheartening and it has to stop, because right now what's happening is everything, all fingers, every arrow is pointing to one and not all. Now we talk about the all, but we have to be the all. Mr. Manager, I'm disheartened that the email said sunshine. Sunshine had absolutely nothing to do with it. If it was noticed, there's one thing I know about Mayor Kava. Her agenda is set, not the night before, not the week before. Her agenda is set, and that agenda was set, and this city knew that our mayor, county mayor, was coming to take a tour. Again, the fact that the commission did not know. Now I'll tell you what I would have done as mayor is I would have said, Mr. Manager, please make sure the commission knows. But what's happening right now, we have CBS 4 news articles with Roar Media on TV. We don't know. We have a vice mayor. We can share the load and share the wealth. We all, and let me go back. The renovation of City Hall was done under my mayor. So let me just say that what we have to do is we have to completely make sure that we are one board. If we're not, then it needs to be that way. But right now, it is not that way. It is fractured. Underground meetings are happening with county. And it is getting back to all of us. We have a city manager and 2 assistant city managers. At all times, they should be in those meetings and no one else. And our city managers and assistant city managers bring back to us as a board so that we know what's going on and what we need to vote on. But now what's happening is we've got a 3rd city manager. And we got to be careful. We got to be careful about that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
So since you decided to attack me, former Mayor Veronica Williams.
I'm not attacking you.
Yes, you did, because you referred to me as the,
I'm
you know
not
what?
attacking you.
No, I'm sorry. You're right.
I'm
You're
not
absolutely
attacking
right.
you.
I'm not gonna lay in playing the kiddie pond. So
No,
are we done with
Absolutely.
are we done with the city manager's report?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner Kelly. I
I
apologize.
defer to Commissioner Bass.
Commissioner Bass.
Thank you. I'm not going to sit here and beat a dead horse, but I will echo the sentiments of all of you who have already spoken as it relates to dignitaries or whomever coming into our city. We need to know.
Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just saying again, when I ask information, when I make requests, I expect them to be here too. And as I said before, we're all up here equal. Make sure you share information. As my colleague mentioned, I've been a mayor, a vice mayor. We all need to know because all of us know people. So we need to be very mindful of that. A lot of things that she mentioned, I hear about. I have friends in the state as well as local, national. I only comment half the time the stuff I'm hearing, but I'm drawing the line tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Manager.
Yes, I'd just like to say again, as I stated in the email, that the slight that is perceived is absolutely was not the intention to offend or disrespect any member of the commission. This was the effort of the administration working with the administration of the county to secure millions of dollars in funding for projects that are proposed here in the city of Opa-locka. There is no effort to favor the mayor over any member of the commission. I have absolutely respect for all of you in the offices that you hold and make great efforts to ensure that all of you have equal exposure. Again, moving forward, this was perceived as an administrative function, but moving forward, as I stated in the email, any elected official that comes to the city of Opa-locka, invited or not invited, elected in an administrative capacity or not, you all will be informed. Thank you.
Are we moving on from this topic? Because yeah, this is, I think we should end it here because it's gonna go negative.
We should what now?
You have something to say? I wanted to end.
I was listening to what you had to say first.
I was saying it's gonna go negative and I don't want to go down that road.
It's gonna go negative?
Mhm.
No, it's not gonna go negative, Mr. Mayor. It just needs to be put on the record so it's fully understood how this commission feels. Because I even have a concern being a former mayor. If a mayor was coming into town, you just said you had to find out from a third party that you didn't even know about it. So that's another issue, but you want to end it? I'll leave it alone.
No, but to
Let's
be
move on.
blamed for that and say that I didn't. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on. Please,
The
let's move
commission was heard.
on. Let's be mature, please. Please. It's not necessary. Next item, because so now we're name calling. Okay, next item, please, is where we going, Madam Clerk? To
Official
board reports.
I have no,
Do we have any?
is Mr. Dennis here? I guess he.
He stepped out, so we're
Yeah,
gonna move
so
on.
I, no
Yeah, just-
official board reports at this moment.
Mayor and Commission report.
You're up, Mr. Mayor.
I have no report. I have nothing to say right now because
Well, you.
I was caught when you have nothing good to say. You don't say anything at all. Oh, the oversight update. Mr. Manager, do we have an update for the oversight board?
Absolutely, we do. The city had a deadline of, our finance department had a deadline of Friday in order to submit last Friday, in order to submit all of our documents to Markham, our outside external audit team. We did meet that deadline, and I'd like to acknowledge Mrs. Naima Walker, our finance director, and her team for the extensive and great efforts with the support of the Anthony Brunson team for making that happen. I want to stress again how important this is. There are things that are happening at Tallahassee as we have been engaging them and meeting with them that makes this particular juncture in time for the city of Opa-locka and for our finance department, our finance team, really at the apex of the concerns, certainly for city manager and for the commission. So we're keeping our eye on that. We're keeping our focus on that. We're keeping Tallahassee engaged. We're very excited that Anthony Brunson, our finance department, Markham, our external audit team, we feel confident that we are going to make the June 30th deadline for our 2021 audit and looking forward to our December deadline, meeting the December deadline for our 2022 audit. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, this is during my report. Any questions to the manager as it relates to the financial oversight?
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Kelly?
I like that we submitted the information and appears on time, I guess, to meet certain deadlines. I want to know from the manager or budget, the letter that we received referencing not meeting requirements for our reporting and withholding will start on or after June 4th. Have we been in communication with them that we regarding that information? And if it is withheld, what impact would it have?
Through the mayor to Commissioner Kelly, yes, we are in communication with Tallahassee and the JLAC team. They are required to submit that letter. We are, as you know, several years behind. However, we're continue to hold our arrangement to catching up with them. The process, once initiated, takes a minimum of 6 months to enact. So if they initiate a process within June, which is the month that we actually have to turn in our 2020 one. This happened again last year. They issued a report. We got our the expected report in by October, and those funds were never withheld. We do not anticipate a financial impact at this time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Vice Mayor, I'm done with my report.
Okay, I wanted to discuss the reimbursement of city expenses, but it's gonna come out in the next meeting, so I'll bypass that. I would like to ask, I'm not sure if everybody see what I see, but the name of the business is I think it's CJV Joint. It's on Alabama and 27th Avenue on the southeast corner. It almost looked like the business is abandoned because the swell there is grown up. To me, it looks like an eyesore. So I don't know if we need to cut the grass over there or reach out to them to find out what's going on that corner. I would really appreciate it. I would also, there's sometimes I don't mind turning on the news when I see our police officers there doing good work. Kudos to the officers that apprehended the stolen car. Thank you very much to our police department. Also at Meet Me Monday, the residents were extremely happy with the police department with the reduction of drug traffic on the east side. I too thank you, the police department, for our residents seeing that. I also got a call about lack of city presence on 140th Street, right behind, I'm gonna say Northwest Seafood, Price Choice, back over in there. There seems to be a lot of issues with ATVs riding up and down that street. And yeah, if we can look into that as well. Okay. I also want to say that we're getting ready to, before I say that, I use Pervious a lot coming to City Hall. For some, I don't know if there's not a one-way sign, but I come head on with the car at least 3 times a week from the state building. And it's happening more and more. Even today, I'm flashing a lady like, go back the other way, and nothing. I don't know if we need to get a one-way sign or they need to put a one-way sign. I'm not sure. Also, our seniors, I hung out with them for a little bit today. They had their Mother's Day lunch. They were dressed so nice and pretty in different colors for different groups, they said. I also had the pleasure last week to decorate mini cakes with them. And I just want to recognize Mrs. Darden. She is doing a phenomenal job with the seniors. I've been enjoying them. And the last thing I want to say is our birthday party is coming. We're getting ready to celebrate these 97 years here in our city, 97 years of history. So don't forget, Friday night, we're having a May 19th. We're having a big bingo celebration, big like holiday when we do the holiday bingo, big bingo. And Saturday, we're going to have our pool party, but it's more than just a pool party. We're planning to have a petting zoo, ponies, water slides, you name it. We're trying to have it. We want all the residents and employees and their families to come out and enjoy the fun. We'll be doing that from 11 to 3. And then you could take the family. Well, you don't have to take them home. You can just hang around and get ready for karaoke, which is going to start at 6 o'clock from 6 to 11. It's the mayor. I'm so sorry. And we're really excited about that. Bass, you'll do Sunday? And then on Sunday, if you guys need, after that much fun over the weekend, if you need a little church in you, we're going to have a gospel extravaganza from 4 p.m. to 7 at Shabundi Park. Please come out, enjoy everything with us. And to those mothers, I will wish every mother happy Mother's Day. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Mayor, I'm gonna go. Yeah.
Just Vice Mayor report was
Long. It was long.
She did all of our
Yeah.
reports, because she talked about the bingo, she talked about best. Go ahead,
No,
Commissioner.
I'll let Commissioner Bass go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go quickly. First, I just want to let our Public Works Department know that we see you. We see you. I see these people working so hard. I'm not saying other departments are not, because you all are, but our Public Works Department, I just want to just hug and kiss all of you every time I see you working hard out there. I just wanted to say hello to the Public Works Department. And I also want to say thank you to each and every one, every department, the clerk's office, Commissioner Kelly for co-sponsoring the National Day of Prayer, all of you who came and show up, all of you who prayed when you couldn't make it because you were at work, we thank you anyways. Each and every one of you, the police department, everyone, thank you. It was very successful, and I'm looking forward to co-hosting it again with all of you moving forward. Thank you. Oh, yes, our seniors, they had live music and they brought church to us. And it was really, really, really good. And that's it for me.
Commissioner Kelly, you want to go last?
Yeah, go ahead, let Commissioner Williams see on that end, so.
Commissioner Williams?
They say save the best for last, Commissioner Kelly. First of all, thank you all so much for all the wonderful activities and events that are happening. I don't think that I've seen the city this alive in a long time, and just so many a plethora of different things for different ages. So thank you again, everyone. Just want to thank Commissioner Kelly and Commissioner Bass for the National Day of Prayer. I heard, since she put me out there, that it was absolutely spectacular and wonderful. So I'm so excited about that. And of course, I'm excited about the pool party and grown folks night, which is karaoke, and and thank you all, and even for the gospel explosion, for those of you that attend Bedside Baptist, please make sure you wake up and come get some church in your life. So I'm excited for this Saturday at 11 a.m. brunch for 3rd annual Women of Many Hats. We know that we wear so many hats. So it is a Mother's Day celebration. And I'm excited because we will be raffling off some amazing hats, like amazing hats. That was provided to the event. So please make sure, bring your mom, aunties, and again, I'm excited for that. That's it. Thank you.
It's on you, Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you. So now I gotta be brief, right? Okay. Real quick, National Day of Prayer was mentioned in the birthday celebration, so I won't mention that. We held our monthly farm share distribution. Of course, last week at Shabandi. I guess the first event of our birthday is really gonna be Feeding South Florida on next Friday at 10 a.m. Over at Siegel Park. I was glad to be able to read to the students from Robert Ingram Elementary. I think Mr. Bass set me up. I had pre-K, first and second graders all at the same time, but they were wonderful. As you read to them last Thursday at the library, we're excited. I'm thankful for the support of my colleagues. We're able to make it out for the Ingram Park cleanup on the 30th. We're looking very much to get the park open within the next few weeks by the, and I'll speak with the manager's office on a tentative date. We're looking at the 3rd or the 10th. For a reopening celebration so we can get the park open. If you had a chance to go by there, it is amazing, beautiful, but we still have some work to do. I too want to commend Mr. King and his staff and all of Public Works for the hard work that they do for the various things. And I'm glad to see that we're continuing to recognize Public Works and public safety on those days, been doing it for years. And I'm glad to see it continues. Hopefully I can be a part and attend to show our support. We hosted our monthly Meet Me Monday that Vice Mayor mentioned, and there was a lot of residents who were there who were very appreciative of the efforts. Still got some challenges, but I want to commend and thank Captain Alvarado for being there and taking the heat because it's positive, but they also had concerns. And I look forward as I sent them to the manager for the responses by May 22nd, but I want to thank you for coming as well. I said from the beginning, I invite any department that the manager would like to come and share, because a lot of times there's misinformation that can be corrected by staff. One of the challenges that I did send to the manager was regarding ATVs, RVs, trailers, all those kind of vehicles that are all over, a lot of concerns. So we're going to continue to follow that. We have reached out to Senator Jones and our state representative to come and speak at our next Meet Me Monday to give us a update because there were some concerns about some of the legislation passed this past session that will take place, including a ID identification check. And I did mention it to the police department to relate to the manager how that will impact us and what our response is. Finally, I think my colleagues may have gotten to save the date to the whole community. This is Haitian American Heritage Month. As a part of our second meeting in this month, we want to have a small reception, if you will, to honor Haitian American Heritage Month. We've sent out an invite to our District 2 County Commissioner as well. And we want to reach out to the community as well as a whole, that we honor our Haitian American community members, because we are a diverse melting pot, but we're in the community for the community. Having said that, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That concludes my report.
Okay, we're about to move on, but Vice Mayor just reminded me, last year, the city was able to partner with South Florida School of Excellence for their autism walk. And we're doing that again this year. It's next week, Thursday at 9 o'clock. So we want everybody to come out as we celebrate the children of Opa-locka who suffer from autism right here in the city of Opa-locka. And if those of you that were here last year, you know how fun it was. The children loved it. And we want to make sure that we show support. We're moving on to our
Board appointments.
board appointment. Thank you. Any board appointments?
Yes. I have a board appointment for the Teen and Young Advisory Board. David Anderson.
Okay, so that's her.
That's her
individual.
individual appointment, and I'll get with you, Vice Mayor, just to get contact information.
Also, I have a question about the nuisance and abatement board.
Okay.
Okay. I just want to know if it's
Go
okay.
ahead.
Because the young lady Pamela Butler, the one that I nominated for that board, she's displayed to me her disappointment of the board not doing anything. And she told me that she did speak with, I think, Mr. Wills, and they explained that it had to get some more tweaking or talking to the attorney about it. And I just wanted to know where are we with that?
Mr. Mayor?
Madam Clerk?
So yes, our office had, we contacted the city attorney's office for a legal opinion as it relates to that newly adopted ordinance that had to do with the tax roll and nuisance abatement. And I believe, I have to go back to my emails, but maybe the city attorney can recall what her legal opinion, but it's my understanding that the nuisance abatement board, there may be a conflict between the two. So do you recall what your opinion was on that matter, Madam Attorney?
What I can do is write a memorandum and send it to all of you. I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't have any information in front of me, but I'll write it and I'll send a memo on it.
Thank you.
So I think that, Mr. Mayor, the issue was that, there may be a potential conflict between the two ordinances. So we will provide something to you all in writing.
All right. Were there any board applications?
We do have an application, submitted by Florelba Wright. And she's looking to serve on the local financial oversight board. There are 3 city commission appointees. 2 of those should be residents, and Ms. Wright is a resident of Opa-locka.
Okay, so we can nominate, I nominate Ms. Robert Wright to the local financial oversight board. Second by Commissioner Kelly. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Bass?
No.
Vice- Oh, thank you. Vice Mayor Irvin?
Yes, yes,
Commissioner Kelly? Commissioner Williams?
yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes,
Motion passes 4-1.
all righty. Okay,
Before,
Be- be-
Matt, I'm so sorry, Mr. Oh, wait, you still? You had the floor? Oh, okay, I heard something. Mr. Mayor, Madam Clerk, quick question for the teen and young adult board. Does the applications need to be filled out first before we present a name? Or can I present my name now? I'm just curious. I don't know. I had a name, but I didn't
So-
know I was.
Mr. Mayor, so we do have an application process, and that's just so that we have the information on the applicant, and also so they can provide a brief overview of their experience or, why they want to serve on the board. But it's your individual appointment. You can make that appointment, and we'll go back to that person and just have them complete the application.
Okay, so I would like to appoint Ms. Kimberly Downer as my appointment.
Okay, and we have her information, so we'll reach out to her.
Okay, Madam Attorney.
Yes, just very quickly, just want to point out, you all had an ordinance that you established back in 2013, which has to do with the Housing Authority and Nuisance Abatement Board. It's something that's combined. But what's been happening, including an issue that you're going to have on your very next agenda, which deals with pro-champs and revisions that have been made to the nuisance section of the code. I don't know that what you have in place as this nuisance abatement board is not so much a conflict as it is, that's not the direction you all have been moving in. You all have been moving in a direction of code enforcement. Now with this ordinance that will be coming, it will be, and if you approve it, it will be a company that will be assisting with foreclosure issues and nuisance abatement. And so you've done some things to revamp that nuisance section of your code. So you know, you still do have this on your books. It has very minimal stuff in it. So it's nothing that necessarily conflicts because it doesn't really say anything. Honestly, it's just like a paragraph. But it really probably deserves a workshop so that you can give some thought to where the city is headed, which is consistent with what a lot of other cities are doing right now, as opposed to a board that may not do all of the things that you want it to do and may cause more confusion. So
Okay.
the way that we're headed, or the way the city has been heading in terms of the legislation that's been passed and recently, and some of the things that you're going to be looking at in the future are things that may give you more uniformity, which is why a lot of cities have moved to special magistrates as opposed to code enforcement boards, for instance. So it's just something, you know, we can talk about in another setting, or I can speak with you all individually about it. But I don't know that this nuisance abatement board is necessarily going to be moving in the direction that we have been moving in to do some of the other things we've been doing. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was just about to say, I think we already, all of our minds are clouded. So let's do individual meetings, please. Thank you, Commissioner Kelly. All right, so we're getting ready to adjourn. I just want to thank our staff for sticking through this and your patience. As always, it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This meeting is adjourned. Can I get a motion and a second? Move and second, this meeting is adjourned. Moved by Vice Mayor, second by Commissioner Bass.